Welcome to class. Hello, I'm teacher Timmy, and we're going to look at group rotation. One time doesn't suit all. A typical 40 minutes lesson looks like this. We have teaching objectives for the class. We have activities that will be performed by the teacher, as well as activities that the students are going to do, class tasks, class activities, and then we have an evaluation at the end of the lesson. What is the objective of today's class? We're going to look at how to effectively manage our classrooms using group rotation stations, how to plan our lessons to cater for all learning styles and abilities in our classroom, plan and create stimulating activities that will keep our students actively engaged throughout the instructional time. We're going to look at how to teach using a variety of media and use instructional time effectively. In our classroom, we should note that we have different types of learners and we need to know what each learner is bringing into the classroom. We should know our students. We should know what they are, what they like, how they learn, what they're struggling with, their weaknesses, and other areas that is really important to help us teach them effectively. We should learn to excite our students, make sure that the classroom is a stage whereby they are able to enjoy our teaching, where they're able to be themselves, where they're able to express themselves more effectively. We should excite our students. We should be artists in our classroom. We should make sure that our students enjoy every part of the lesson. We should teach our students. We should actually teach them. It's not sufficient for us to go into the classroom and come out without actually achieving any form of teaching whereby the children cannot boast of any form of learning. We should teach them. And finally, we should be fair to all our students. We should be fair to the low achievers in the classroom. We should be fair to the average students. We should be fair to the average to the high achievers. We shouldn't treat them all the same. We should treat them fairly differently in their different giftedness. What is the challenge we're going to be facing today? We're going to look at as students with diverse learning styles fill our classrooms, many teachers don't always have the time to plan lessons that use differentiated instruction to suit their distinct aptitudes. So we have different students in the classroom, they have different learning styles, they have different learning abilities, and it becomes more difficult for teachers to plan lessons that will differentiate instructions for them while in the classroom. Many times when teachers make these plans to teach them in the classroom, they find it difficult to actually execute. So group rotation is going to help us to see how we can execute these plans in our classroom. Before we start, we're going to actually have to find a way out by understanding these three main concepts. The first is the content. What are the contents of our lessons? What do we want to teach? What is the media we're going to use? What methods are we going to use to impact lessons? What instructions are we teaching? What ideas are we bringing into the classroom? What information are we sharing with our students? These are very, very important for us before we actually go into the teaching. Our lesson plan should make this really, really clear for us to understand. So we should know what we're teaching them, the content. Then we need to find out what we are processing, what the kids are going to be processing. These are the exercises, the practices, the activities that the students are going to perform in order to better understand the concept you're teaching them. So they need to know what they're doing, they need to understand what they're doing. So we are going to plan all those things for them to do. And then the third thing is the products. What are the products that our students are going to use, are going to show to demonstrate that they actually understand all that we have taught them throughout the lesson period. So these products are actually also going to be based on the children's different learning styles as well as their learning abilities. So you wouldn't expect that a child that is actually a struggling student should um, produce the same product as the child that is actually finding it very easy to assimilate in the classroom. These are things that we need to consider when we are planning to teach in the classroom. Let us analyze our strategy, and we're going to analyze them based on these three concepts that we discussed earlier. And we're going to see what we're teaching, our content. Are we using diverse materials and teaching methods in the class? We need to analyze this very well. We need to analyze the processes. Are we providing solo, small group, or large group activities that helps best allow different learners to absorb our content? What are the things we are actually allowing the children to do that makes them to absorb whatever we're teaching them? And then we need to also analyze our products. Are we letting and helping students demonstrate their understanding of content in variety of ways, in ways that actually suit their learning styles and abilities. We need to also analyze this. In doing this, we'll be able to refine our approaches to properly accommodate all the multiple intelligences in our classroom. So let's get started with learning about group rotation. So the first thing we need to do is to create our learning stations. Our learning stations are very, very key and important in our classroom. They provide different types of content by setting up learning station, and we divide our learning stations into different sections in our classroom, which groups of students can actually rotate through. Each station should use a unique method of teaching skills or concept related to our lesson. So we have a particular station that focuses on the visual. We have another lesson station that focuses on the kinesthetic. We have another station that focuses on the auditory. So these stations should have unique methods so that our students can actually benefit from them effectively. For example, students can rotate between stations that involve watching a video, reading artwork, reading an article, completing a puzzle, or listening to you. You can actually have a particular station whereby the students can actually listen to you, whereby they work with you on one-on-one, where they communicate with you, they interact with you, and you're able to break down the concepts to them in ways that are easily understood by them, while the other students can be engaged in other things that will actually stimulate their learning styles and ability. Using task cards. Task cards, like learning stations, allows us to give students a range of content whereby they can answer questions as small group activity or large group activity, whereby you can work with students on different things, areas that they can work on. So the first thing is for us to make and identify task cards and questions that you probably find in worksheets or the student's book. So the task cards are like flashcards that you can actually have different tasks written on them. So you can have math sums, you can have puzzles for them to figure out. You can have questions that they have to brainstorm amongst themselves. So you write them out on the task cards. You can then go on to print and laminate them. You can use a cardboard and use a permanent marker to write on the task cards, and then you laminate so that it can actually be sturdy for the children to use. And then you set up stations whereby you can place these task cards there. So in station A, you can actually have a task card whereby the students are supposed to read through a newspaper and find all the maybe proper nouns on that article, or they can actually have another table with a task card whereby the students are supposed to find out all the verbs or all the nouns, different things like that. So task cards actually help you to create stations in the classroom for students to do. You can actually make it bulk, or you can make it solo, so that if it's solo, you know that for this group of students, I give them this particular task cards, and for another group of students, you give them another task cards for them to work on. You can make it solo, you can make it small group, and you can also make it large group for them to use. The third part is that we can actually interview students. We need to ask students about learning and studying styles. We need to know what they're feeling and how they actually respond to our instruction. So asking questions about learning and studying styles can help you to pinpoint the kinds of content that will meet your class's need. While we run learning stations or large group activity, we pull each student aside for a few minutes and ask them questions. We need to ask them, what are the areas you're finding difficult? What are the areas you enjoy the most in the classroom? What are the things that you want me to add to make a part of the lesson? So we ask them about their favorite type of lesson. So there might be a particular lesson that they really enjoy because of the way the lesson is structured. You ask them about their favorite in-class activities. They might like more of competitions in the classroom, quizzes in the classroom. They might like integration with technology, integration with art. Some of the things we need to ask our students, because one of the things that is key in teaching is to know our students. And when we know them, we know how to help them effectively. We ask them which projects they are proud of, the projects that they enjoy doing, and we also ask them the types of things that help them to remember the points. Then what happens? What are the things we do in the class, or what are the things they do that helps them to remember important points in the classroom? Maybe we sang it in the song, maybe we told them to do an activity in regards to that. So when we interview students and know the things that helps them to learn effectively, we can then be really sure that we can make these things happen over and over in the classroom. And please remember that some of the things that excite a student may not excite another one. So we need to be very flexible in the things that we put into our classroom. And then next, we need to target different senses within our lesson. So we have our main senses for helping children to learn. When we're teaching them, when we're planning our lessons, when we are planning instructions, when we are planning how to evaluate them, we should target the different senses. So a lesson should resonate with more students if it targets visual, tactile, auditory, and kinesthetic senses instead of just one, instead of just being one direct senses that is being focused on. When it resonates with all the different senses, then it will resonate more with more students in the classroom. When applicable, appeal to a range of learning styles by playing videos, which will appeal to the visual learners, use infographics, use audiobooks, get students to act out a scene, which will appeal to the kinesthetic learners. They want to move, they want to be actively involved. We can incorporate charts and illustrations within the text. We can give both spoken and written directions to tasks. We can use different physical objects to teach so that the children can actually feel, they can touch. You don't teach in abstract all the time. So whenever it is possible to integrate concrete objects, let's try to do that as much as possible. And then we should also allocate time for students to reflect and interpret whatever we've taught them in the classroom. Now, next is that we need to share our strengths and weaknesses with our students. When we teach our students, we need to let them know that just like they struggle with some things in life, we also struggle. And just like they are very good with some things in life, we are also very good with some things in life. It makes us more human. And then the kids are able to relate better with us. So to familiarize students with the idea of differentiated learning, you may find it beneficial to explain that not everyone builds skills and processes information the same way. So we can talk about our own strengths and our weaknesses, which is a way to actually let them know that we do not process information the same way. We can also explain on a personal level how to study and review lessons. Many times students don't know how to study. We just expect them that they would naturally know how to study, how to review the lesson, but we need to teach it. So we tell them how we do it on our own as adults, and then we can also ask them to share how they are able to do it, and then see how we can help them to get better at being self-reflective learners. We should share with them tactics that have worked for us or those that we've actually failed at, so that our students are encouraged to try them out and get better at what they're doing. We should use the think, pair, and share strategy. And this exposes students to a three-lesson activity, which helps us to also monitor and support students as they complete tasks that we give to them. So this strategy is about having children to think about a particular thing, a topic, a concept that we give them. And then when we give them the opportunity to think about this topic, we next go on to pair them with another student. So we pair them up. So student A has thought about a topic, student B has thought about the same topic. We pair them together to check what they both came up with and try to share ideas with themselves, try to brainstorm further on whatever it is that they discovered, and try to come up with something that they both agree with. And then finally, we allow them to share with the class. So at the end of the day, we have different pairs of students coming up to share whatever it is that they've actually discovered in the classroom. This can be integrated into different topics like that have to do with human relationship. You can have it in areas like geography, social studies. You can have it in science. You can have it in business studies. Anything that actually allows the children to actually sit down and put their thoughts together. We can actually use this strategy for them. We can also create time for journaling in the classroom. So a journal can be a tool for students to reflect on the lessons you've taught them. So at the end of each day, each lesson, we can actually give students a few minutes to reflect on whatever it is. They can summarize the key points that they've learned. They can attempt to answer some lingering questions. Maybe there are some questions that came up, or some questions that you actually drafted yourself that you're going to use to help the children to journal. You can actually throw these questions at them. It could actually be a question that was asked by the student that you want them to reflect more on based on what you've actually exposed them to. You can explain how they can use the lessons in real life scenarios. So you have you've taught students about finding averages, and then you can actually integrate it into numbers that are common in maybe the political scene, the business world, and sport, and so on and so forth. You can use sporting activities, you can use a league, you can use political activities, you can use election, and different things like that. You can allow them to use real life scenarios to explain whatever it is that you're actually teaching them, and can also help them to illustrate new concepts in the classroom. So we can also run literature circles in our classroom by grouping our children into different groups. We can help them to run literature circles. So when you organize students into literature circles, it encourages them to shape and inform their understanding of reading anything that they've read, anything you allow them to read. So you can read a text in biology, you can read a text in computer studies, and then you help them to read together, and it helps to build the auditory and participatory skills. It also gives you an opportunity to listen to the students' presentation in their different circles. So they're reading the same text, they're asking questions, they're filling in understanding, they're communicating with themselves. It helps them to build the leadership skills amongst themselves, that naturally somebody will emerge as a leader, someone that likes to take the forefront in doing so many things will emerge at the end of the day. And so it makes it easier for our students to become individual learners, and also they can actually help themselves during the process. We should create free study time for our students, and this will actually let them to learn individually, and also use that period to also help maybe their classmates that you pair them with to learn with. So we should look for little pockets of periods whereby we can allow the children to have a free study time. We shouldn't make study time something they have to do on their own at home. So during the lesson, maybe 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after, you can tell them, okay, I want you to go through your book and read and try to understand what we are actually discussing. So it allows them to develop proper study habits. So you can divide your class into clearly sectioned solo or team activities. You should consider the following free study exercises to also meet the preferences of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners. So we can have audiobooks where they can actually play a material and listen to something related to your lesson. You can create a station for challenging group games that teach skills involved in the curriculum. You can maintain a designated quiet space for students to take notes and complete their work. I can also allow the students to work in groups and complete work in during the time allotted to them. In next and final thing, we can actually do lots of group learning styles. We can group our students into learning styles instead of grouping them based on learning abilities. Heterogeneous grouping is a common practice we have in our classrooms, whereby we actually group based on ability, but we can actually group them on learning style to encourage collaboration through common work. So you have the different learning abilities, but same styles are coming together to do a common work and do the same thinking practices. And in doing this, it actually allows us to work with like-minded students, are able to support themselves, they're able to learn more while you give attention to other students that might actually need it. And so it helps them, it helps to build collaboration, it helps to build understanding amongst themselves, and it also helps to build a very, very effective and healthy classroom environment. How do we integrate group rotation into math? We're going to use a sample topic here, which is place value, and the class lesson has been planned to accommodate 4 groups. So in group 1, we're going to have place value worksheets that the students are going to complete. They're going to match the correct place values to the numbers. So a student has different worksheets whereby they are going to complete different activities. In group 2, we can actually have a place value collage. You can make a collage to represent each number. So a big square for tens, a small square for the units or the ones. And so when a child is supposed to show you present 23, maybe in the place value, you have the students matching the correct place values to the numbers. You have matched 2 tens and 3 ones, and the child is able to match it to 23. And In group 2, the child is able to build to use 2 large squares and 3 small squares to make 23. While in group 3, you can actually have a color the number activity, a color art, whereby you have a cardboard or a large piece of paper, you have a drawing on it, and then you have different numbers all around it. And these numbers have been written to ensure that there's a 2 present in everything. And then you ask the kids to color each section of the picture with colors based on the value, the place value of the number 2. So if the 2 is a unit value, then you color the section red. If the 2 is a tens value, you color the section green. If the 2 is a hundreds value, you color the section yellow. So this is actually integrating art, visual art, into math for this group of students. In group 2, you integrated this art, but it's also kinesthetic and tactile for some group of students. And then the last group of students, which are in group 4, which is our students that are actually going to work one-on-one with the teacher, whereby you actually are able to teach them based on the needs they have. In this case, it's better to actually group the students based on ability so that you can actually work with same ability set while you're actually grouping them into different stations. There's so many activities we can actually have for math. Tikator is one, and there's so many things we can check online to create different activities for math. And then we can also integrate group rotation in literacy using teaching proper adjectives as an example. So group 1 can actually read and explore. They study the list of proper adjectives for different nationalities and know the changes and similarities. So you can give them a task that they should write 3 of each sample that ends with IAN, EAN, and AN. For the IAN, a nationality can be, an example could be Ghanaian. Yes, Ghanaian ends with IAN. And then you could have Korean for EAN, and then you can have American for AN. So they can complete for all the others as well. Well, group 2 is actually going to write a proper adjective for each proper noun. So you have the proper noun Nigeria, Islam, Japan, Lagos, and then you want the kids to write the proper noun for each of them. And so Nigeria becomes Nigerian, Islam becomes Muslim, Japan becomes Japanese, Lagos becomes Lagosian. So you have these activities down for this group of students to do. While the third group can actually be involved in an online activity, maybe online quiz, online task, different things. You can find them online. And then the fourth group can actually be passing a story, whereby they underline the proper nouns in the story, they identify the nouns, they identify the proper nouns, they identify the verbs, the pronouns, and all that you want them to identify. If you look at the math rotation sample, you'll find out that one of the stations has a teacher's involvement, where the teacher is actively involved with them. But in the literacy sample, there's none that actually has a teacher being involved with any group. So the teacher can actually now move from one group to the other to see what the students are doing, or remove a student from any of the group that needs extra one-on-one solo teaching and actually help the students during that period while others are on task. So there are so many other activities we can have in literacy. We can have look and write, anagram, use of folder files, journal writing, read and draw, word opposite, word building, and so many things like that. So let's see group rotation in science. So our topic, sample topic is soil, and we have 4 different groups as stated. We can have less than 4 groups. We can have it shouldn't be more than 4 groups. We can have 3 or 2 groups. But to try to ensure that we're able to manage the class effectively and use our time effectively, we shouldn't exceed 4 groups. So group one would observe. So maybe using a magnifying lens, the students would observe the different cell types and write down their observations, what they see in the soil, different types of soil. Group 2 can actually explore the permeability of the different soil types using funnels and filter paper. So rather than going to class and telling them everything, all the information, telling them that these are the qualities of loamy soil, these are the qualities of sandy soil and clay soil and all that. You can actually have the children test run all this thing in the classroom. At the end of the day, end of the rotation period, they come and then you discuss your findings together and try to validate the things that the textbook is actually trying to explain to them. So they can have students exploring that. You can also have some students in group 3 who are having soil fun. They are molding different soil types and trying to see what can be molded, what can be molded. Instead of telling them that you cannot mold sandy soil, let them experiment, let them feel, let them touch. So if you know that if you look at what we have here, all the activities in the rotation, you'll see that we are trying to ensure that the different senses are being catered to. We have the visual, we have the kinesthetic, we have the auditory, and everything is being catered so that all the students are able to learn effectively in the classroom. While the fourth group actually is going to be on concept understanding, where the teacher has one-on-one interaction with them. How can we ensure that our group rotation is effective? How to get our beautiful ideas to work? It's very, very important that we can actually get this done. And the first thing is planning. We must plan our lessons. Our lesson must be planned effectively. When preparing our lesson notes, we should strive to integrate activities that will excite the kids and give opportunity for participation. We should provide rich content that will lead to engaging processes and ensure successful products. We should be enthusiastic about the lesson and ensure we have substantial amounts of information about the concept. We should have our materials prepared well ahead of time. So we need to really, really plan. We must plan ahead. It's not going to be a walk in the park if you don't plan ahead. We just have to plan before going into the classroom. Next, we must manage our time effectively. Each lesson usually lasts between 35 and 40 minutes, so we should plan to fit in whatever I want to do within the time allocated to us. The first 10 minutes can be used to introduce the topic and give relevant information. The next 2 minutes, the children are meticulously directed to the group activities and basic instructions are given. So when you're starting with group rotation, you can actually start with 2 groups and then you move on to 3 before you move on to 4. Always start very, very small so you can actually have lots of confidence in actually trying it out. And then each station should last between 7 and 8 minutes. You can make it shorter than that, but ensure that whatever activities they are going to do is going to fit well into the period that you've actually allocated to the stations. You should have a functional clock. You should have a transition cue, a song, a sound, um, something to do to make the children move from one station to the other. And then the plan for the number of stations that will fit within the time frame of your whole lesson is very, very important. So the third thing is that we need to have a lot of variety in our classroom. We have to be creative as teachers. When planning activities, everyone loves something different, something unique, something not like we did yesterday. It has to be different. So we should mix art in fun and engaging ways. You could explore visual arts in ways that stimulate and extend learning. We can make worksheets more exciting and we can get loads of free materials on the internet. We should befriend technology. We should use technology to our own advantage as much as possible. The children can play online games. We can have online quizzes. We can mix everything up. So we should never be afraid. We should do that effectively. One of the things that would actually make it difficult for us to integrate group rotation is fear. So we need to kill it. We need to kill it and exterminate it. And one of the reasons why teachers don't adopt new teaching methods is because of fear. They ask, would it work? Can I plan effectively for it? Yes, it would work. It would work. It would work. Just be confident about that. Yes, you can plan effectively for it. Yes, the ideas will come. You will have the ideas. If they're not coming from your head, check online. You find lots of ideas to use. Well, if you think the conventional style is okay, no. You should change. You should change and try to see other ways to get better. Will the kids benefit? Of course, the kids benefit from anything wonderful and good. It will be stressful, yes, maybe, but it's going to be worth it. How do you keep other students on track? By ensuring that you plan effectively for your group rotation. Whatever you're giving to any station should be well planned so that the kids are going to finish at about the same time everybody's supposed to finish. So whatever it is, we should kill fear because it kills creativity, it kills our ability to be the best that we can be. We can make it work. Group rotation can work effectively and succeed in our classroom by believing in ourselves, make it simple. We should plan ahead, create graphic cues that you can see to plan well. We should store our activities, whatever we make, we store them, and we should seek help when we need it. Help is very, very important. In conclusion, group rotation stations are effective ways of engaging students and providing avenues for lots of practice. And whenever it's well planned, teachers can create one-on-one periods with students who need additional help with concepts. Weekly group classes can be created so that the kids know the groups that belong and can move freely from one activity to the other. So we can actually make it a weekly thing instead of making it something that is fixed that students will start from beginning of the term and run throughout the term. We can make it week one, we have different set of children in this group, week two, different set of children in this group, except when you're actually grouping based on ability. When you group kids based on ability, then most of the time you might have to have them together. But when it is based on learning styles, then you can actually mix them up. And then do not group based on ability only all the time. Mix them up as often as possible. We should also allow the students to create to nominate a group head amongst themselves, and to also make them, and this will make them to take charge of their learning. We can also adapt group rotation stations to secondary schools, which allow the students to practice activities on their own. It allows them to participate in journaling, task cards, think, pair, share, and so many things that we can actually do. So thank you for listening, and you can always reach me out on my social media page in the comment section below. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.